We've been meeting with some people. They've been coming to me, or I've been going to some of their settings in order just to talk about the reality of family life within their particular context. I've been told it's a men's group. Not quite sure what we'll encounter when we get there. A group of men, I understand, that are seeking to know how to grow in the faith themselves, and not just in the family, but also in the workplace, in society, and so on, especially if they want to stand up and live visibly and be known as men of faith, as a Catholic people.
Last time, for those who haven't been here, we were doing the study on the saints, Father Bishop Barron's Pivotal Players.
Oh, that's a good series.
Yeah, it is. And tonight we're going to do kind of a switch up. There was a free episode on the Eucharist from Augustine Institute, and it was kind of a challenge to everybody with, maybe the turmoil going on in the church, that this is the reason for our faith, right? It's about Jesus. And I thought, since we missed summer, it's kind of like a back to basics, like this is what it's all about. So hopefully that didn't put a wrench in anybody's expectations, but it was a free episode, so I thought I might as well use it.
Free works, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. For those of you first time, we kind of play the video, and then if you want to stop at any moment, there's something that stands out to you, just shout out at me and I'll press pause and you can...
I like the portion where they talked about us consuming the Eucharist, but it's more the Eucharist consuming us.
Yeah.
And leaving church, and you always hear and understand, again, you're trying to portray our teachings and become Jesus, but I never really connected those either. You're embodying Jesus and going out and showing people who Jesus is, sharing that connection. So
Bishop Barron said in his video, mission territory in the West is as soon as you exit that door.
Probably more so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now the third world countries are the ones that are still very strong in their faith, and our secular world now, and the way we're raising our kids, we're the ones that do need that revitalization.
And that's why this group, and I guess all the guys here can testify, it's nice to know that there's other guys that think the same way, right? And it's because most of us probably can be in our own workplace and be maybe the only Christian in the whole workplace, right? And sometimes it's hard, and then when you come together as guys and you boost each other up and be like, no, you're not alone, right?
My daughter Sarah loves making art, so they come and was like, look at this girl thing I had. This just looks like a big giant piece of macaroni just kind of stuck to a piece of paper. It's like, well, okay, yeah, that's cool, right, per se. But I mean, in her eyes, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's really what, when we leave church, we need to be doing the same thing. Yeah. We need to be going to the world and actually say, okay, hey guys, this is really, really cool. Come to We don't have that same passion. We use it, but we should.
I like these, like I said, the St. Augustine Institute, the way they put these together. I've been a Christian all my life. I've never really practiced a lot of it until I've been older. And when I met Heather, she has a very Catholic, strong family roots. So she's the one that started to share the Catholic faith with me.
Yep.
So I just went through the RCIA program actually in 2016 and became Catholic.
Oh, way to go.
Yeah, I was Salvation Army, but so just, again, being exposed to people, I just never knew this stuff ever. I was never taught it. And then it was mind-blowing once I started to hear this stuff and knowing the rich history that's out there with all the facts and all the records, and I can't believe that so many people in the world just don't have access to this.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was the same way. I
Or
was raised with absolutely no faith at all, and it was, I think these guys know, when I was in my early 20s and just into drugs and alcohol and stuff, and then I'm looking at different belief systems, and it's you start to learn that there's actually reasons for these beliefs and that they're really good. And it's this all makes sense. This makes too much sense. And it's just I wish somebody would have just told me this before, right?
Then the Eucharist as a communion that binds us together as Catholics and as Christians as well, no matter the race, the culture, and actually there's no religion without food.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, well, according to research in some places, every religion have to have a little bit of food in it. There's always a little bit of food. One thing that helps me as a priest is the fact that it's celebrated the same way in the Catholic Church everywhere.
Yeah,
in the whole world.
Yes.
And in our country, Nigeria, the Pentecostals, they are beginning to, though at first they used to speak against that, but now in recent times they are coming back to it.
Yeah.
They are seeing the power and the bond in the Eucharist, though we still want to do it in their own way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they are beginning to come around to see the importance of that.
Ultimately, it boils down to the mystery of God. And with God just being what he is, who he is, a person, a being, we can't comprehend, but we can comprehend bread.
Yeah.
We can comprehend how we communicate with each other. We can comprehend the meaning of a relationship.
Yeah.
These are the things that God gave us that we could relate to him.
This small wafer that contains Christ himself, and how I need to do a better job reminding myself of that, because I know at Mass, the hustle and bustle with all the kids and stuff, and all of a sudden I'm getting pushed to like, let's go to the lineup, and I'm just trying to hold on, get this kid to, sit down, come on, let's go. Oh, we're standing up in line, and rush. And I just got to take that moment and just realize, wow, this is like the most, like he says, intimate encounter with God that you can have. And like, I don't know, I just got to do a better job of taking that pause and in the moment, right? And just really understanding what it is, right? We could talk about here, how do you experience God's presence in your life? God's presence can be big and can be small. And I know myself, I've felt it in different ways. Like you guys know, my daughter was born with congenital heart defects and had multiple heart surgeries before she was even 1 year old. And it was like, I struggled when my wife was pregnant that this was going to happen. But once the baby was born and she was rushed off to the hospital and they were going to go give her surgery, I was at peace. And I felt like, this is not right. Why am I feeling so comfortable right now and so okay with everything? Because I knew at that moment I had no control. All I had was faith, and I gave it up to the Lord, and he gave me peace. And it was like, I felt guilty for a bit. I'm like, I should not feel peaceful right now. But and then I just felt, no, it's okay. I got this. And that was a clear moment where it was like a moment of where I should have been panicking. My daughter's about to get her chest cut open, and she's, a week old. And I felt peaceful. I'm like, no, God's got this. He's, so those are big things, but then there's little day-to-day things where God's present with you.
Still talking about kids.
Yeah.
I think every day
Yeah.
I experience God in my daughter, Claire.
Yes.
You all know Claire? Anybody that goes to Good Shepherd knows Claire.
Yeah.
No, she has cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
She's reachable now. But at maybe every other day is a struggle. I won't say every day, but at those moments, she will either start singing some church song in Nigerian language that suits the heart I was feeling at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it happens. You just sing it, and that song will apply to what is bothering me.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you just look at me and say, I know you love me no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Big words, despite our developmental delay and all of that. Amazing, soothing words come from her. And it can only be from God.
Yes.
It can only be from God. Lots of reassurance coming from her. And I also see God in her in the way she has developed over time. Father has been here for 10 days. He hasn't seen her in 9 years, right? And she's 11. So he was surprised at how much strides, how much she has developed, and how much she's able to say out.
Yeah.
Even though we speak with her, you don't know that she comprehends what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
She understands the two languages. She understands English. She understands everything in our native dialect in Nigeria, despite the fact that we speak English here. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And the songs that she knew back in Nigeria as a 2-3 year old, she sings here still.
She still remembers.
In our native language.
It's amazing,
Yeah,
That's cool. That's cool.
That's
awesome.
it.
even when I was a kid, my mother, when she was pregnant with me, she was they had 3 or 4 doctors that told her to abort me because she had a surgery just before she knew she was pregnant, and she had x-rays and stuff like that. So the doctors basically said, your son's going to come out either, something wrong, or maybe without a limb. And so there was like 2 or 3 people and even psychologists that sat them down and said, abort this baby.
Wow.
But so they were dead against it, and my dad is completely against it, and I was born. So I'm so glad that they didn't abort me. Right? So right from my birth, I was blessed.
One of the things that, and this has really kind of woven itself all through history, behind the separation that can exist, or that we cause to exist between ourselves and God. Mm-hmm. And what that is this thing that if somehow God draws near to me, God will be for me a threat. God will be a threat to my freedom. God will be an imposition. God will be an obstacle to me being myself. Therefore, I must keep God at a distance, and therefore I must create myself, be myself. If I grow too close to God, I'll be destroyed. Yeah. But from the beginning, what that image says is that when we enter into communion with God, God touches us so beautifully, closely, lovingly, as the Creator, that He doesn't destroy. Mm-hmm. We draw close, we draw near, but there's no destruction. In fact, we are enabled thereby to be even more fully ourselves. I think that's probably a very particularly important message for the culture today, too.
Yes, that's true. So how can this presence of Christ in the Eucharist be a source of strength and consolation as you journey through your life? In what ways can you grow in appreciating and embracing Christ's presence in the Eucharist?
When we have that connection, God's extended that connection to us that we're blessed to have, like you said. So every time I take the Eucharist, I try to be mindful that I am taking the body of Christ.
I think one of the hardest parts about the Eucharist is it's very familiar. You have it every week. You know you're going to have it. You know you're in church, you're going to get the Eucharist. And I think it's very, very easy to reduce it down to bread.
Yeah.
Even just because you just do things out of habit, and when it becomes too familiar, you lose that mystery. You lose that burning bush.
Yeah.
You lose the impossibility of it.
Yeah.
For me, it was like after confession, it always feels like when you go for communion, like you appreciate it more. You feel it more. And you don't have that cloud of sin kind of between you receiving the Eucharist. So I think that's a good way to.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
I just have to say, when I grew up, my family's always been Catholic, but when I grew up, it used to be that we'd go to church, have church, and then we'd leave.
Yep.
That was our typical Sunday. But being that we're part of a family group, our kids all know each other, and we know each other in Mass, I think the church has become more of a home for us, and our kids feel comfortable there, which is probably something that I didn't really have as much when I was growing up.
That's really good, fellas.
So, just as far as the men's group and the women's group and everyone getting together, it definitely has made us more of a community.
It is so encouraging for me to see that you guys, on your own initiative, are taking this issue and saying, we need to be together, let's get together and talk. Talk as guys, talk about the faith, don't be embarrassed about that, don't hold back, but recognize that, we need this, and we need this community. I think this has the great potential of triggering other conversations among people who see these things, and perhaps inspiring other similar initiatives that can happen and bring people together. So keep me in your prayers. I'll do the same for yourselves and for your families.